going to we're going to work on the recommendation letter today. And I know we had originally spoken about, sorry, I'm just going to mute my chat so this doesn't distract me. We had spoken about having a specific subcommittee write this letter. And I know not everybody's here yet. This is also a very small turnout for 10:02. So if anybody has other things they would like to do today while we work on this letter, please feel free to have your time back. Otherwise, all input is welcomed. We do have our too many tabs open. We do have our innovative ideas piece. Let me know if, like, as I'm switching tabs, you can't see it anymore. Or I can also make it bigger. And so what we were going to focus on for the letter was going to be this automation of the M1. And I think the other one is going to be this courts and districts on the same page with the 2765 requirements. So there's going to be some additional training that we'll talk about and like what it looks like. But both of those will be our, oops, sorry, I admit. Both of those will be our priorities for this letter. Other than that, that's really all we're going to do today, because we didn't have anybody officially sign up for the subcommittee. Except for Michelle. She can't do it by herself. So, questions, comments, concerns? Okay. So this is what we have thus far. Sorry, there's people in the waiting.
Jess, this is Michelle. Can I ask real quick? Sorry, I'm having trouble seeing everybody. Who do we have in the meeting currently who's board and who's participant? Because I know we have new people. Sorry, so names are kind of confusing me.
For sure. It looks like we have for board members, Daniel, Donna, Ruben. I have to pull up my list. Samantha, Scott, myself. So it looks like we're probably pretty close to quorum if we're not at quorum.
Beautiful. Okay, cool. I was
Yeah,
just curious. Thanks so much.
yeah, of course.
And I apologize for background noise if you hear any, but I'm going to do my best to help out.
No, can't hear anything, so you're totally fine.
Yay.
Okay. So what I'm planning on doing is as we type this, I will put this more into like a Google Doc so that after we kind of get like an initial draft, people can go in and put comments or anything else they'd like to add. Um, right now I just have it in a Word doc. So makes it a little easier for this kind of a work group versus like having everybody trying to be in it, typing at exactly the same time. So, okay, come back to our innovative ideas. Which one would you like to prioritize as the first one we're going to be offering up as our recommendation? Automation of M1 or the court training?
Let's just start at the top.
Okay. I'm actually going to have to probably split screen this. Can you?
And Jessica and Michelle, I guess, this is, I think, my first time on the committee seeing the letter writing process happen, or maybe I just had a little less line of sight before. So I guess, could you talk a little bit about like what is the format that we're looking for? We want to prioritize a couple of things. Like what are we hoping the finished document looks like?
So for this, and I might actually defer to Michelle because this is also my first year of doing the recommendation letter. Um, we're trying to, part of our statutory obligation as part of the board is to develop recommendations annually to the BHA, that the BHA can take to legislators, can take to whoever they need to take it to, governor's office, et cetera, about how we would like to evolve mental health treatment in Colorado, and specifically this 2765 statute. Is that
Jessica,
helpful?
do you have a copy of the letter we did last time? It was a little bit different, but we wrote the letter to the former commissioner.
So this is the one for 2023. I can't find one for 24.
Maybe it was 23.
I
Okay.
was gonna say, I feel like maybe we skipped because that was right when I was starting and I don't remember working on it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yeah. It may have been 23. The other thing is Caitlin had already she had also posted in our folder a kind of draft of what the other committees do so we could follow that format.
Hmm. Do we have?
Just in case I'm going to see if I can find it in our folder. But I remember her showing it and just saying, here's what other committees do. You can follow this format or you can make your own. And it's literally just a letter of what we collectively have determined. And we can either list out all the things and then just say, of these things we've discussed over the year, these two have kind of become salient to our conversation. And these are the two recommendations below we'd like to make. And it's literally just a letter.
Okay.
Um, but something makes me think her old one had like categories of some sort. And I've slept since then. I could absolutely be making that up.
Well, and with Caitlin's reassignment, like I'm just doing my
Yeah.
best. I
Yeah.
don't know where she keeps everything. Joy, since you're on the call, do you know where those form letters are or like how we could copy them?
I am looking at the mental health advisory board folder. And there are examples to Michelle's point. Yeah, there's like some documents and like, as you know, I'm also filling in. Isn't it great? It's like two duties as otherwise assigned type times, but um, in the annual letter of recommendation, there's like the application for the subcommittee, which is fine, but I have template examples in this. Let me see if I can put a link in here somewhere.
That'd be great.
But they're examples from BHAC and then BPAC in terms of format wise.
Right. I remember those.
Yeah, and so, and Michelle, I think you're right. It was a letter previously where it was just,
Yeah.
and I
Here,
know, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, Jessica, to kind of make the most of the time we've got, maybe we just write the summary of what we think and put it into recommendation form for these two highlighted recommendations that we have. And then on the back end, maybe you and I can go in and figure out, do we format it to the way it's been in the past? Do we do a letter version? But maybe we just get two paragraphs of our recommendations from the group that's here, and then we format it kind of after the fact.
And Michelle, I'm happy to work on that with you too. You can just ping me and I'll jump on.
Thank you. I can do
Yeah,
that.
of course.
Great. I almost feel like we probably should.
Jessica, I think Jen is looking to come in to the meeting.
Yeah, I just let in Jen.
Okay.
Thank you. I've never had that before.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
This is one of those weird like BHA things. We only have so many paid Zoom accounts and logins. So like because I'm not one of them, somebody else has to like come in and then they have to make me the host.
Oh,
Super fun.
interesting.
And then I don't pay attention to the waiting room. So I apologize.
No, that's okay. I've
I get
never had to wait before.
Yeah, I am not Zoom friendly.
That's okay.
Okay. So maybe what we'll do is this. Maybe we schedule another time. How about this? Here's my idea. We still need to figure out what oh, did we Taylor, are you still on? Sorry.
Yes, sorry, I don't know what I missed because I ran to get water and I heard there was an issue with like letting people in, so my bad.
No, it's me not paying attention to the waiting room. Did we sent out the survey for like date and times that people wanted to do these meetings, right?
Yes.
Can you pull up the outcome data?
I can. I looked at it the other day and it's maybe not helpful.
Oh, okay.
It was like two people for every like day or time only. So there wasn't like a consistent overlap where there were multiple people.
Okay.
But let me pull it up.
So, and if you have the ability to like drop that in the chat, I can open it and put it on the
Yeah.
screen and share it with everybody. While she's doing that, I'm just going to type in our top. Are we wanting to do top recommendations? Maybe like tier them?
I
Like,
think so.
okay. Trying to think how to word this.
Well, I guess another question I have, again, just kind of new to the process. Do we have any feedback from people who've been involved in the prior letters as far as what's most helpful? Like, are there specific types of details? Is it the priority list itself? Are there recommendations for implementation? Are there things that the BHA would particularly look to in this letter?
Great question. I know
Yeah.
Joy
All
went
the
off.
above. All the above is what Caitlin described
Okay.
is to be able to highlight the two recommendations or, one at a time, be able to state kind of a summary sentence of rationale and then potential solutions, right? What do we see might be able to be possible? And then offering up to be part of conversation toward the end goal is what we've done in the past.
And one thing,
Jen, I think Jen was here for the last one too.
sort of how I wrap my head around it is kind of the approach, and Jessica, you've gotten some of these from me lately, but like the waiver approach, right? Like, here's current state, here's the difficulty with current state, and here's maybe the action items that are needed to alter current state.
We can definitely frame it that way. I definitely think we need to like address the deficiency because that will make it real easy to identify why we're making the recommendation that we are. Um, okay. Taylor, let me know whenever oh, she got it. Okay.
Yes. That the way it pulls isn't as helpful as the one that you can see on the form creation where it's more of a chart. So Jess, you could possibly pull up that one on your own.
I wish this tab would go away.
I just can't share that second one, that the second link that I just put in there with everybody.
I'm just gonna have to what did we call that? I'm sorry. I've been so preoccupied with the eating disorder stuff that I have not even looked at this in a month.
You're okay. I put the link also in this chat, but Mental Health Advisory Board meetings. Yep.
Okay. So we also only got 5 responses, which is part of this.
Could we take 2 minutes and have everybody fill it out right now?
Yeah,
Hasn't.
for sure. It's not what I want.
I just dropped the respondent link in the chat.
Thank you. I would be lost without Taylor. Oh, I don't think even I did this one, so my bad. Oh, it's not gonna let me fill it out. Let me know once everybody has it filled out and I'll just keep refreshing. I apologize. I'll be right back. My dogs are crying at the door. Okay. Let's see. I'm wondering if maybe everybody that's here has already filled this out, which is why we're not getting more responses. There it goes. Yes, there are definitely a lot of buttons to click. I appreciate that. So we've got, it's looking like that 10 to 11:30 on the second Monday of the month is pretty high. At 5 people. That's the highest one so far.
Is there anybody that absolutely cannot make that time work?
Which would be September 9th. Is that correct?
I believe so. Let me look at the calendar.
Yeah. No, that's Tuesday. It'd be the 8th. Is that Labor Day? No.
That's the following week. The week following Labor Day.
You said
So,
the second Monday,
yes.
so the 8th. Yes, thanks.
Any opposing that new cadence?
And then since it's Monday,
Samantha.
I mean, it will, I think, conflict with like our office's regular meetings with BHA leadership, ironically, of all things. Um,
What
just
time is that meeting?
It's at 11 on Mondays.
Can we move this
On
to
the second Monday
9:30
at
to
11, and it is Ryan's meeting. So you could also just see if you can convince him to move it if you
Well, I was gonna say, like, we have
I
a
like
lot.
9:30. I really like 9:30 if we could start then.
Yeah, I want to do 9:30 to 11. I see a fine for me. I don't see any other.
Works
Also fine for me.
Yeah, I mean, that conflicts with a monthly budget meeting for me, but I can just not attend the budget meeting. It's budget.
I was gonna say, like, do you really want to be there, Samantha?
I have less of a problem missing budget for this than missing meeting with the BHA for meeting with the BHA. That's just weird.
Totally understandable. All right, let me see if I can just
This is real rich.
reschedule this. 8th at 9:30. You want to do monthly on the second Monday. Please let me know if you don't receive that invite. That was one that Caitlin had to transfer to me, so I just want to make sure. Cool.
the only thing with Mondays is we're gonna have a few state holidays, like Columbus Day.
And I think we'll just tackle those as they come up.
Okay.
I know, because we've also like canceled stuff. Yes, Kevin, make sure you're on there. I mean, like for holidays and stuff, we just sometimes skip it.
Columbus Day is also not a state holiday anymore, although
True statement.
everyone else gets it.
I always forget about that. You're right.
Now we
Kevin,
get the
you're
first
already
Monday
on
off,
this.
just to confuse us even more.
So Kevin, let me know if you give it a couple of minutes, guys. But if you don't get it by the time we click off, I'll see what I have to do to get it working better. 'Cause yeah, Kevin, you're on that. Ruben, you're on that. Let's see. Yeah, the only one I've gotten a bounce back from so far is from Shane. He's out of office. But we'll keep, there we go. We got some people who are getting it. I say sometimes check your spam also. Just given like the state email comes from a like a Gmail platform, that sometimes happens. Got the cancellation. Okay. I guess I can close this.
And sorry, just to confirm, so the next meeting would be September 8th then, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Did you got the new updated invite?
I did. Yes, I just want to. And all the Friday ones we can delete, cancel, whatever.
It should have updated and removed them from your calendar because I just used the
Okay.
same
Yeah.
thing. And if not, then I did it wrong. I'll have to fix it again.
Yeah.
Let's take a peek.
Yeah, it looks like that worked for me, so.
Perfect. Yeah, because then we'll look at October 13th, would be November 10th, December 5th, 8th. Yeah. It's looking good on my end, but like I said, mine's a little different. Okay. So now that we've gotten that taken care of, good work, team. Peace officers. I was gonna say maybe we'll just give people some time back today. And Jen, Michelle, and Casey, the four of us can kind of coordinate a time to sit down and formulate this in the next couple of weeks. Does that work for everybody if I send out some work times?
Yeah, and then we can work through it and then just kind of go over it with the whole group. Hopefully more people show up on the 8th.
Works
Yeah,
for
I think
me.
that would be great. All right. Well, then I will just, if the other three of you can hang on, maybe we can just talk it out. Go ahead, Samantha.
I just was wondering if this group or anyone from this group has seen a copy of the bill draft about transportation.
No, I have not.
Michelle's seen
Yes.
it? Okay.
It's that whole BJDSHJ committee that I don't remember the acronyms for that I've been attending. I've got a copy of it. I've got access to minutes and conversation. But it was just they haven't finalized it. They did a draft. We've been talking about it. They canceled 2 meetings. I was unable to attend this week, but they canceled the last 2 working on an update of the draft.
Gotcha.
So if anyone's on here who attended Wednesday might have more recent information, I need to read the email and listen to the recording.
I do.
I did attend
I
Wednesday.
was totally about to throw you out there, Kevin. Thank you.
Oh, but Kevin
Oh,
is
there's
way better
Kevin.
than me.
I mean, I'm right here. I could talk about
Kevin was there.
it.
Kevin was more there than me.
I have not listened to the recording either. I didn't know it was recorded. Yeah, so the bill, so the reason from me why it hasn't been released to anybody is because it is still in the drafting process and it has not been released publicly on the website. I don't know whether legislators have handed it out or if other people have spread it around. So I'm just not capable of doing that for the group, for myself. Happy to answer as many questions about it as possible. If people are interested in hearing about it and the process. We have some questions about the language from the drafter that we're trying to clear up. And it is about this idea or question about detain is one of them. And so that's the one that we're working on right now, and happy to talk about that if this group is interested. But
Yeah,
So can you give us like a
Kevin,
high
if I
level of what it says?
if I could just jump in, this is one of the reasons I really wanted so badly for the Mental Health Advisory Board to be connected with the task force and that subcommittee, because what the subcommittee task force is kind of struggling with is like from that provider perspective, from that subject matter expertise in that way. And part of it is the language, like Kevin was talking about, was the word detained. But it's like when we're looking at that context of 2765 and M1, M.5, they are, at the same time, because we're already starting that process of, involuntary hold. And so I think, Kevin, when we had that meeting, I think that's part of the context that we're missing in some of this is like, we are talking about 2765 and that language.
Yeah.
And versus, is that something an EMT can do versus a clinician versus law enforcement? And where the reality is, it's about the individual and their status as where they are in that involuntary hold process. And then the transportation on top of it. And so I think, this is a good board in that sense of having that clinical expertise to leverage on that.
Yeah. And I would love it if people join the room for the meeting there on Wednesdays at 9 o'clock for the conversation. But all of the changes around transportation that the bill considers are written into the existing statute. I'll just tell you, there's no additional section that's being written about transportation. It is line item striking or adding to things throughout 2765. And some of the things that came up in our conversations in the task force subcommittee meeting was around the fact that law enforcement is not the only person who is capable of responding and not the only person who's capable of transporting individuals who are either in crisis or who are certified. And we wanted to add to that in order to encompass all of the people who are capable of making transports, all the people who are capable of making the transports. And there's already language in the existing statute that discusses the ability to detain or assist with detaining. And then it makes a separate one sentence about EMS for transportation. So all can transport, some can detain, and one person, EMS, cannot detain but can transport according to what it's the way that it's written. The changes that were made that we were hoping to add to it came from the subcommittee meeting where people added to the document that we've got there, where they listed mobile crisis, where they listed ambulance and other providers, basically. So what we tried to do was to add that in to make sure that all of those people could be in. But what that did was create a problem around who is authorized to detain someone and what is the word detain actually mean. And does it mean that when someone is in BHST in one of their vehicles, that when they're locked in there on an involuntary transport, is that a detention? And so there are a lot of questions that come up around Fourth Amendment rights and also, whether that would qualify as a kidnapping if someone was not free to leave, et cetera, et cetera. All of these questions were discussed in the last subcommittee meeting. And so we're trying to come up with some language that actually works, where there can be a shared understanding about what's acceptable for each provider to do. And then also, too, whether there is a type of quote unquote detention that is authorized for folks. We've got language from all of the 50 states and the statutes that they have in I'll tell you that it's a myriad of different solutions that every state has used for this, but there isn't anywhere contemplated that I've found so far, or the people who looked at it, that there's some question about detention. Detention is a word that is heavily used throughout most of the states. It doesn't matter who the provider is or who the transporter is. and detention is very heavily used through all of the states. Who pays for it is different. How the structure is set up when it comes to BHST is different across states. There are some places that have sort of a panel or a board who administrates the transportation, and there are people who sit on that board and they make decisions, and then the funding comes from that panel. There's some where the funding comes from the county. It's like it is crazy, all the differences that are out there. We're trying to figure out how do we want to do this here in Colorado, and do we need a different definition for the word detain? And so that's kind of some of the conversation that we're having. And happy to try to answer any questions that I can. Michelle?
Yeah, I'm just going to add to what you're saying, Kevin. The other thing that muddied the waters, from what I could see, was it is pretty clear what you do with an M.5 and an M1. But the other thing that came up with this meeting is a pickup order for a civil commitment that is on the back end. So someone's just meandering around the community, the judge signs the pickup order. Who can go pick up these people? And that becomes a very different conversation than being on scene with the person doing the assessment and then putting the M1 or the M.5 in place. So that's the second piece of this conversation that really became confusing, because EMS can't just go out to the street, pick up someone and take them to a crisis walk-in center, for example. So they were speaking up, but they said, yes, being on scene for an M1, there are times we can transport. So it really muddied the waters, and you almost have to look at it in two different ways. The on-scene person is in front of you, and the go find the person because you have a civil.
And so I'm just curious, Michelle, when you were talking about this meeting where people were talking about that, where was that? Because I don't know if that was
your meeting.
Oh, well, then it was.
Yeah, that was your meeting, because that was like, that's where I kept getting confused was Judge, I can't remember her last name, but the judge who put this out there was about civil commitments, but then suddenly we're talking about M1s and M.5s. And in my world as crisis, those are two very, very different things.
They are. And if that were the only space that we had made changes, then you're absolutely right. And I think that the question comes later on. We're going to have a couple of different parts of this conversation. So you're right. There is the separate difference between the M1 and M.5 stuff and the certification thing. And so we will need to also look at that part too. Samantha?
I just want to honor what Joy was saying earlier. And I'm just curious. I know, Kevin, you've done a really, really good job of pulling in like every imaginable stakeholder to your conversations and various subject matter experts. But I'm wondering if there are specific subject matter experts at BHA who would be like the point person for that transportation legislation, that we want to make sure get eyes on whatever's going on.
Absolutely. I agree. Joy, and a lot of the conversation was happening kind of outside of agency stuff in that last meeting, and I was hoping to hear more.
I think too, we have, of course, Ryan, and then we have
Andrea Jones was talking.
Andrea was in there, and then we also have Erica as the liaison. We have people with eyes in there, but I think when we're struggling with, just leveraging the other expertise like this board, it just would strengthen, in my opinion, being able to have, even from the recommendation letter that you're talking about from this mental health advisory board, how you as a board are serving as consultants or, as a resource for other organizations and work groups in this area, because there's so much overlap that does occur from different places. And it's like, I tend to be in a lot of them, but I can't make all the connections all the time for everyone. And so yeah, I just really think I do wonder what we're trying to put in there too much, or if we do need to look at our definitions better. The other part to complicate it just a little bit more on this was the discussion around the SUD involuntary hold, because they don't seem to have the problem like the mental health civil commitment hold pickup orders do. And really the defining factor that I've seen is one's coming from a county attorney versus a DA, or that process, or if it's just how the relationships have been over time with the SUD orders and things to that effect, but they just don't have the same issues as the civil commitment pickup order does. I don't know what that phenomenon's about, honestly. And that's one of the reasons we were looking at, this kind of bigger concept too is, and I know that there's controversy, but is it a behavioral health involuntary hold pickup type situation when we're looking at the bigger scope of what individuals need for whole person care? So those are just, it's very complex, convoluted, and we try to pull it apart because that's what policy and legislation demands of us to do, and then try to put it all back together.
For the subcommittee work, I can just say that some of what when you're talking about the difference between the SED hold and the M1 and M.5, what I'd say is that in this group in particular, I know that there has been some discussion about combining the hold and unifying that process, but I don't think there's a lot of agreement even within this group about whether that's acceptable to do or how to best do it. I don't think it's something that our group can tackle this year. It is much bigger in terms of a conversation. And I know that in this group, I think on the level of priority that it was listed was maybe low. So I don't think we contemplated that at all, and really wanted to keep things simple to try to fix at least one thing if possible. And it's already complicated enough as it is. I would love one of the things that we discussed early on last year in our group was how to unify those holds. And also, too, we considered it again this year, but I think taking some feedback from leadership here is that that's still a subject that needs to have a lot more stakeholder and in discussion around.
That was a big piece of it. Another part was just because it would require so much statute overhaul and probably financing that would go along with it. Given our statewide budget shortfall, it's a long-term goal.
Not this year. Yeah.
Probably not next year either.
Yeah. Okay, I'll take that off our list for next year.
I know. I just like to keep it, fresh in people's minds. That it's like.
Well, and I think one of the biggest barriers to changing that is the providers, right? We have providers that are very bifurcated right now. We have some things with the ASAM 4th edition revisions coming out where more of our crisis providers who traditionally have done mental health, will provide more substance use treatment. I think once we have a good base established there, then it would be a really good time to review the statute and potentially combining those two processes. It's really going to come down to, do we have the ability to serve people if we were to change this?
Well, and for everyone who's on this call, if this is something that's of interest to you, there are a lot of mental health people, a lot of state people. I don't know some of the names on that call, but there's a good number of law enforcement, but there is not good representation from what I could count and see in titles from the EMS world. And when you're talking about telling an entire state agency that they have to shift protocols, if you have EMS in your community who would like to be part of this and hear what's being discussed, because I remember very vividly the behavioral health secure transport bill coming out and that whole shift happening